हमें बड़ी तकलीफ होती है जब ज़रा सी भी आप, this is a culture that, and I don't know if it's a culture that's happening, but yes, it's very, very worrying, the kind that if you just choose to dissent or express an opinion, you know, or be critical of somebody, you know, it's like everybody's coming down and then they tell you, you know, go to Pakistan, say Jai Bharat Mata ki Jai. I mean, these are messages that come on inbox and tweets and trolls, and it's very disturbing because I think, you know, हम तो 400 साल से यहाँ हैं, my ancestry, that's why I'm called a Dehelvi. My ancestry is about 400 years in this city. हम क्यों जाएं भाई, हमारे तो जो बुजुर्ग हैं वो यहीं पे दफन हैं, हम कब्रिस्तान में जाते हैं, तो हम कहाँ जाएंगे, जीना यहाँ मरना यहाँ. So it's very disturbing when people who actually, for me, who have come from outside, they're the ones who've come from, you know, after partition, the Punjabis came to Delhi, and then the Bengalis came, and the South Indian came, and Delhi has always had a spirit of welcoming everybody, and, you know, and...
Makaran has a point here, I think.
So they have, Delhi has always welcomed people, मगर हम तो भैया, हम तो अपने आप को original दिल्ली वाले कहते हैं, तो हमें कहाँ भेज रहे हो, हम कहाँ जाएं?
You see, I just wanted to come in here on two counts because you brought in something about the Constitution. You know, in that same amendment in 1976, during the emergency, the late Prime Minister Indira Gandhi also introduced socialism. Now, who swears by socialism in India today? Or there are champagne socialists, that's another matter. I live in JNU, it's full of such people. But secularism was also something like that. It was, see, if you create vote banks with Muslims and divisive politics, that was called secularism. If you appeal to a large section of Hindus and there's Hindu consolidation, then you were called communal. So to me, secularism itself became a form of communalism, because secularism means you treat everybody equally, which we never did. We always favored certain groups, appeased them, there were Hajj subsidies and so forth. And coming back to what Sadia ji was saying, while I'm deeply sympathetic with that sense of insecurity, there were, you know, so many Kashmiri Hindus who were driven out. How many thousands of years were they a part of that society? And I think in her narrative there is some sort of amnesia. You know, the incredible violence of the Muslim invasions is something, somehow it's not polite to talk about, but it is a fact. And these facts have not been put into our history books, with the result that we have created a false consciousness in India of what this Ganga Jamni Tehzeeb really is. Because if you look at Pakistan, what's happened to the Hindus in Pakistan, look at the statistics at the partition and look at them today. They're less than 2%. So there is a tendency to paper over certain extremely uncomfortable aspects of our own history. And even the song that she mentioned, Chhap Tilak Sab Chheen Li Mose Naina Milake, that's a conversion song. But luckily, wo Naina Milake Dharmantaran ho raha hai. That's okay. But... Please, it's... No, I'm just saying, Chhap Tilak Sab Chheen Li. Suppose I'm wearing a bindi, I'm a Vaishnavite. I look at my master, my Piro Murshid, and I forget who I am, which is wonderful. I mean, I'm all for that ecstatic devotionalism. I myself enjoy the music. I go to the dargahs. I believe I'm a follower of the Chishti Silsila in my own way. I believe in this. That's not the point. The point is something much deeper. Many Sufi orders were very violent. They were in cahoots. Yeah, there were so many. So I think we are painting a picture of inclusion which doesn't exist. That the violence, the tremendous desecration of monuments and temples, and you might even use the word genocides of medieval India, are, and unless, see, my point is not to write or create revenge feelings or histories, not at all, but we need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission in India, so to speak, or a movement, without admitting, and why don't great people like Sadia say, look, there were terrible things in this history. The jizya was imposed, you know, there was so much violence done. Why don't we say we are sorry for that? It shouldn't have happened. The Bamyan Buddhas were destroyed. We are sorry. They shouldn't be destroyed. Every idol in India has a nose broken.
No,
So let me
nobody is...
just finish. I'll just finish my point. I didn't interrupt you. And I don't want to make this too political, because I care for these things as much as you do. I mean, I care for the... My only point is that there is no acknowledgement. We are living in a state where we don't see the terrible conflicts that were created and caused, and the domination, and you're talking about the loss of Delhi for the Muslims. Yes, Delhi was a Muslim
But
city.
Makran, there's a
Yeah.
very
But just to finish, I'll just finish my point.
slippery slope, because either
Exactly.
you live in amnesia or you sort of tend to, get fixated on,
Can I just say something?
on the past. So where do we sort of
That's it.
live?
You don't live in amnesia, though the fine art of forgetting is something Hindus know, whereas other communities, like the Jewish communities, they never let you forget. So, and the slippery slope where you lead to revenge, you want, khoon ka badla khoon, but as Gandhiji said, an eye for an eye will leave the world blind. I'm for a genuine healing. I'm for, a remedial hermeneutics, where you don't resort to these, these sleights of hand. The trouble with secularist elites in India is they thought that Indians were naive. Like they were children, like the British imperialists thought. They infantilized the common Indian and said, "Hum history is tarah likhenge." In fact, India, the common people are possibly more tolerant. And I think if you told them the truth, they would understand. Because power is vicious everywhere in the world. And I think there are enough ways of healing, but not through lies, not through these fake narratives, which today nobody wants to buy.